Today we're reviewing
Imaginary.
But it was just my imagination.
So we are catching up on some movies. Imaginary came out in March of this year. It does count as a movie for this year. It's a Halloween themed movie. It's one that I was looking forward to, never got around to seeing till now. What are your initial thoughts of Imaginary?
My initial thoughts of Imaginary are very underwhelmed. It was a movie that I didn't have very high expectations for. There was a trailer I saw a long time ago that shows the bear in the corner of the room looking pretty creepy. My first thought was, please tell me that's not like the best shot of the movie, or maybe that's there was a point where I thought this could actually be a decent movie. But the reason why I took this long to see it says a lot about our build up to the movie, but we still gave it a shot. And I was very underwhelmed. It was not a scary movie, unfortunately for me, which is a problem for a horror movie. And there was just too many things about it that were just very lackluster. Very lackluster movie for me. Didn't make me angry, but it was just a very meh movie.
Yeah, this movie was, I think, on my most anticipated movies, or at least I had mentioned it on there because the trailer was kind of fresh in my mind and I was looking forward to it. Cool concept, looked creepy. But this movie was a mess. I mean, I've got to be honest. I did not enjoy this movie. I gave it a chance. I wanted to like it. But just from the start, I could just tell this movie had a lot going on. Didn't have much focus. You have a movie about a teddy bear. And once again, the movie doesn't decide to just focus on that one thing. Has so much noise around it. Unnecessary characters. It's kind of slow. It's not really necessarily scary. Usually with horror movies, I can tell from the first few minutes whether it's going to be good or bad. I could tell this just didn't really work for me. There's some scary stuff in the movie I can't deny. But this movie's a freaking mess for the most part and falls into the category of just most horror movies that we see. But why don't we start with our positives of the movie?
Positives for me, I would start with whoever plays the little girl character in this movie did a decent job with what she had. I mean, she played a pretty creepy little girl character. The second I saw her, I'm like, if this was my kid and she was playing hide and seek with some random thing, I'd have shut that stuff down right away. But she did a good job just keeping like a creepy vibe whenever she's on screen at a certain point. Now, it didn't always work, but there were times when that worked for me. There's bits and pieces here and there that were cool ideas, cool concepts, but when it actually plays out, it just does not really follow through. Some stuff with the teddy bear in his different forms, one form in particular, was done well. I mean, it looked like, from what I saw, it was a practical effect, which I appreciate. It was a cool thing.
Yeah, terrifying.
So that stuff was definitely cool. Now, what they did with that was not good, but what they had on screen at times was like, that could be cool. That could be a cool concept. I would say the little girl did a good job at times. The teddy bear in one form was cool too.
Yeah,
the husband character was fun when he's on screen. I recognized it from something.
Is he from Drake and Josh?
Maybe. I'll talk into that because he was probably the best actor out of the entire cast. He had the best performance. And maybe that's right. That's right. You can just tell he had a charisma to him, like when he's on screen. Now he's not on screen much. His character doesn't really mean much in the movie, but when he's on screen, you can tell he was a solid actor.
So my positives, I would say there's some creepy scenes. There's a lot of cool scenes where you see stuff in the background. You kind of don't catch it at first. There's a few scenes that got me. I gotta admit. I mean, there's one. I don't know what is in the background. I still don't know to this right now what the heck was in the background. But there's a few shots that scared me. Things in the background, heads turning, and weird bug-eyed things. I don't know what they are, but okay, I'm just saying, it scared me when I was watching.
Yeah, the eyes were interesting.
Yeah, I'm just saying, there's a few scenes that got me, so I give it credit. They weren't cheap jump scares. So, and there was some creepy atmosphere. Positives, the main actress, DeWanda Wise, I thought did fine. She did good with what she was given. I mean, this movie, I don't really think it's her fault. It's a mess of a movie.
No.
She's an artist, and she does fine. And the little kid character does fine too. And then the teddy bear, I would say, they have some cool scenes with the teddy bear actually moving around, which I appreciated. Not too much, but one scene in particular that I thought was really cool and creepy. and the evolution of what it turns into has a couple of cool scenes, and it looked really cool, but that's about it for my positives. There's mostly negatives here. So why don't we go into our negatives?
The negatives for me are basically the performances of everybody else. Like I said, I'm not going to just critique the actors and actresses. Like, there wasn't much given to them in the movie, but the storyline was weak. There's points where this thing gets into cartoon world where now that usually works for us in certain movies, but for some reason this one, there's like old lady character that just did not hit for me. And there's a point when they're in a different dimension, and I was like, am I watching like a skit? Like, it was like when you're not watching with a group of people, so you don't know what the overall reactions are. But I'm like, are they going for comedy here? But then they're not going for comedy.
They kind of were though at points. There was points where they like tried to play comedy. I'm like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, that comedy stuff did not work in this one at all. The old lady character was not very good in this movie. What they did with her. There's side characters in this thing that did not need to be in it. That were very, very annoying characters. It just seemed like, again, the acting was weak at times. It's either the acting or what was given to them, the script. I'll say the script was very weak. The dialogue was weak. The storyline was weak. It was not, again, the biggest flaw of horror movies is it's not scary. This thing was hard to see at times. This thing could have been scary. There's a sequence where the little girl's talking to a therapist. That was kind of creepy a little bit.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
But even then, the storyline is just a very weak storyline. It just starts to get way too out of control. And the biggest flaw, in my opinion, outside of it not being scary, was the resolution of the movie. How they're able to combat certain things is laughably bad, to the point of the Wendigo, like those movies where things like Boogeyman. These movies it's like they don't know what to do. They get to the very end. They don't really know what they're doing the whole time. And at the very end, they really don't know what they're doing. It didn't make me mad watching it. It was just a very weak film.
Yeah.
Weak horror film, not scary to me. And too many things I'm just like, I didn't need to spend X amount of money on this. This could have been us just watching TV and turn it off.
Yeah, honestly, my biggest negative with this movie is they could have just simplified it. We have a movie about a teddy bear. It turns into this creepier bear. Just leave it at that. Like, just have it be a possessed bear that turns into this thing, and they find some way to deal with it. You end up taking this way too far with throwing in an extra old lady character that's trying to trap them in this area where there's a bear, and there's also these other alien, weird, bug-eyed creatures. There's the girl's dad is possessed from before, and the girl is linked to that, and she's possessed, seeing the bear disappear. It's too much. My negatives, yeah, it just does too much. And it could have been so much simplified. Yeah. A lot of these characters are annoying. I mean, you got the classic teenager character that is just annoying, and it's just a jerk, and like that's just a classic horror movie trope.
Out of left field too. She'll say things that like don't make sense at that time.
My biggest negatives, yeah, it's not really scary. I wish they would have focused on the main bear. They do way too much extra crap. This movie drags. It goes into these completely off the rails at the end, and they just needed to simplify this movie. That's the biggest flaw. It's not scary. Focus on the bear. It's what they need to do. And yeah, this movie just doesn't really work. It doesn't work. And we want to go into final thoughts and
final thoughts for me. I think what you just said, feeding off of that, was it almost feels like a better suited to be a short film. And it's like and it's one thing you can take a short film, expand on it, and do that well, like some other movies have done. But this one, you can just tell they took the concept of a bear. It's almost like they found that bear suit, whatever evolution that was, and they're like, man, we need to do something with this. It's just a very weak horror film with a couple things here and there that could potentially be considered okay, but that's just not what we're looking for in movies, and this one just did not follow through. It's just not a good movie to me, and I did not have a fun time with this. The concept is interesting, but again, that's what I feel like I'm saying a lot of our horror films is the concept is interesting, and then they don't follow through with it.
Yeah.
They don't do it how they could. They don't think it out.
Until you do shit like this because you don't think it out.
But overall, I'd say, like I said, it was just a bad horror movie to me. Did not have fun with it, and I'd probably end up going with I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 10. I was thinking 2.5, but it's just like, why? Like I said, my 2 positives was the concept.
Yeah.
Some interesting things here and there, but again, I have to be more hard on these movies that we see, because I can't just be throwing around numbers like it's just anything. Like, I'm gonna give it 2 out of 10 for Imaginary. But there was definitely potential here to be a lot better of a movie.
I gave The Watchers a 3, and I feel like this is probably below that. So I'll probably go with a 2 as well, a 2 out of 10. This movie I really was intrigued by the trailer, and if they just would have focused on this teddy bear, just simplify it.
Yeah.
Don't expand. You don't have to make portals going to other dimensions and old ladies coming into foil plans. You don't need any of that crap. Just have a teddy bear that's possessed. The girl finds it. It's like telling her things, and then finally, when there's a problem and they have to get rid of it, it turns into a giant monster, chases around the house for an hour. There you go. There's a movie. It's that simple. That could have been a great movie there, but it's just way too much crap going on. It drags on annoying characters. It wasn't really overall scary. There's random characters in the movie that
Stepmom doesn't need to be in it.
appears for no reason. This movie was just a mess. Unfortunately, sucks. I think it's slightly better than Night Swim, but gave it a chance, wanted to like it. I got some scares out of it. I mean, there are some scenes that made me jump. It kind of made me, oh, that was like a good scene there. But not enough to save it, unfortunately. 2 out of 10 for Imaginary.
Well, that was our spoiler or non-spoiler review of Imaginary. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this one. But this week is a big week for horror films as Smile 2 comes out.
Hopefully
Smile
pick it up a little bit.
Hopefully it'll pick it up. I mean, hopefully Smile 2 is a lot better. I mean, hell, this movie made Longlegs look like a masterpiece. Be on the lookout for that stuff. Let us know in the comments what you thought about Imaginary, and maybe give us a couple more titles that you want us to check out, whether it's a new release movie or stuff that we've just missed in the past. But appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.
But it was just my imagination.
I told you had too many plugs in one outlet.
Oh, God.
What is it?